Is one of my favorite things in InDesign. It really is the source of your superpowers. It's available from the flyout menu in the upper right hand corner of any of the character, paragraph, or object styles palettes. So let's have a look at what that looks like. So right here, edit all export tags. Let's look at it from the character one. It's there as well. And then here is what it looks like. So this gigantic suite of options, we're going to stick to EPUB and HTML because PDF is a bad word. And we're going to now manipulate all of the styles in this content and map it to the correct HTML. What happens here, so at the top here are the paragraph tags right up to here, and then these little A's are next to the character styles, and then the squares with the grab thingies. That's the official word for it, grab thingy. Yep. Those are the object styles at the bottom. So the base body style is right here. And the automatic, so what InDesign gives you is a P tag or H1 through H6. Those are your options for paragraph styles. Down under the character styles, your options are automatic, span, M, or strong. And in this case, if you leave it to automatic, you'll get a span tag, so just good to be aware of that. And then under object styles, you can have a div or a span. I'm going to just state at the outset that the options that InDesign gives you are not great. They are minimal and generic and just not great. So here is where you can really work the InDesign gears to get you better HTML. So paragraph styles will default to a P tag unless you direct it otherwise. And then the other options are H1 to H6. So let's go to our, we actually deleted the CN paragraph style, so we'll just leave that to automatic. The CT is the one that is really important, that's mapped to an H1 tag. And then A head, B head, and C head, however you normally name those in your content, those cascade, H2, H3, H4. So I think that makes good sense. And then the sidebar, when there's a head, will also give that an H2. Everything else can default to a paragraph tag. So notes, the sidebar text, caption, title, body, chapter number, no indent, no space. All of those can, and normal, default to a P tag. That's fine. If you wanted to, if we were splitting up on our ebook into chapter size chunks, this is where we would opt to do that. So we would click here and say, split this EPUB at this paragraph style, so chapter title, into a chapter size chunks. We do want to include these things in the HTML, and we do want it to give us CSS. Sometimes you don't want that, in which case you would uncheck the odd thing. I never want basic paragraph. I also never want a basic text frame. So you can manipulate this as you see fit. If you don't type something in over here as a class name, it will automatically populate it with the name of the style. And why it's important to be really aware of that is that it's a very common practice among typesetters to have their style sheets, among the more sophisticated typesetters anyway, to have their style sheets organized into folders in their styles palette. And if that's the case with the content you're working on, you may actually want to input classes here, because what you'll get is body styles, and then a colon, and then body or something like that, depending on how the architecture of how those things are named. And you want to simplify that. In general, you want class names that are as simple as possible, but also portable. And what I mean by portable is that somebody else could take over that file and understand what's going on fairly easily. Don't be fancy with your style sheet names. Don't be idiosyncratic, i.e. only you will understand what those names are, because other people will work on the content. So good idea to develop in-house standards if there's time and space for that around style names. But just be aware that you will want to manipulate the class name sometimes. Okay, now let's move on to the character styles. So I had this set before. So as you know, the only options are span, M, and strong. So InDesign is just incredibly flat-footed about this. They just give you what they think are the right choices, but they don't actually understand HTML. So in this case, the italic just needs to be mapped to an I tag. The emphasis is mapped to an M tag. That's correct. The superscript is mapped to an SUP tag. If you have citations in your content that are in italics, you want to just use the cite tag. Small is mapped to a small tag. And so a quick caution here, you can type whatever, you can just keyboard whatever you want in here. That doesn't mean you should make up HTML tags. Try to avoid that. So an I is a legit HTML tag. M is a legit HTML tag, as is SUP, cite, and small. If you know what you need from the HTML, here's the place to do it. And then you can manipulate these class names if you like. I will show you, I generally clean them up later and I'll show you that. The basic graphics frame I'm going to leave to default. The basic text frame I almost always put in as a section tag. And then here, the sidebar. This is a new style we just created and I'm going to map that to an aside tag. Marking marginal content. And marginal is the wrong word. What I mean is content that is not part of the linear narrative of the file. So in this case, our sidebar is commentary on what's going on in the text, and marking it as an aside means that it's skippable in a screen reader context. Somebody using assistive technologies can skip that piece because it's marked as an aside and come back to it later to stick with the main linear flow of the content. And that's why it's important to mark that as an aside and also to map it to the correct HTML. The section object style will be mapped to a section. The caption on the image is mapped to a fig caption tag, and the image is mapped to a figure tag. So this is a way to manipulate InDesign into doing a better job for you, and to giving you sort of a leg up when you get to the HTML stage. Leveraging this suite of options is an ebook developer's secret weapon when it comes to getting a clean, accessible ebook.